So I have a real crazy link, right? We here in Central Texas, in Big 12 country specifically, have experience in the situation that Michigan is in right now. We do, and I'm going to tell you about it, okay? I guess it was November, right? Early November, where the football program in Baylor, maybe it was mid-November, Scotty, I guess it was, we were rocked by scandal, right? The Mack Rhoades scandal. It touched down long before anybody had heard about it, but it touched down here in Waco, and the reverberations were felt throughout the nation when he came to a mutual agreement with the university to part ways. After, look it up, read it, can't get into it all now, but it was the word scandal is appropriately used when talking about this situation. Baylor didn't have an athletic director. They had a wayward football team, right? They had to hire a football coach. The president, maybe a little out of her depth, right? Hiring a new football coach. The president aware of this, right? Aware of her shortcomings. In this case, Dr. Linda Livingstone, right? What are we going to do? How are we going to hire a coach? When we look at the infrastructure of our athletic department, there is so much in flux right now. Maybe the right thing to do this, and we're not working to win a popularity contest, right? But the most prudent thing to do, the most responsible thing to do, maybe to retain the current coaching staff and wait till we get everything taken care of in our own house, and then move forward and hire a football coach with a much clearer perspective and a much more stable athletic department, right? So the decision is made. We're going to keep Dave Aranda, right? Everybody's up in arms. People are freaking out. Look, it happened. It is what it is, and everybody's moving forward. And I do feel like everyone has done their best to understand the situation and get on board. And I think the Joel Klanderman hire earlier this week as defensive coordinator has pumped a little life into the fan base. And I think that the transfer portal and the interest to the players that Baylor is able to land, we're going to talk tomorrow. We're going to get even more insight on the DJ Lagway situation. But if a transfer like that were to come to Baylor, that would be a coup for the program and for, from a public relations standpoint, everything and all the wind behind that program sales. Okay, I say all that to say Michigan is in a very similar situation. Okay, they were rocked. I mean, again, it's like Sharon Moore said to Mack Rhoades, "Hold my beer." You want to see scandal? I'll show you scandal. And we've talked about that. We've gotten into it twice here on the show and done some long monologues, talks, whatever the hell you want to call it, into the Sharon Moore thing. By the way, is it Sharon or Sharon? I mean, this is another one of those things. It's like the Alex Murdaugh thing, right? There was a while where it was like, is it Alex Murdoch? Is it Alex Murdaugh? You see all these people who are in these professional situations who are saying this big name either way. I think it's Sharon, but then everybody was now as we get deeper into this, it's Sharon. Anyways, I remember when I worked at the news channel KWTX here in Central Texas, and I mean, this poor woman who ended up, dying. She was killed, but she was kidnapped from Fort Hood, and she was a private. I think her rank had just been upgraded, but her name was Vanessa Guillen. I knew because of Ozzie Guillen and because I'm not completely brain dead. That's how you said her name. But for the first month, we were covering this story. Everybody's calling her Vanessa Guillen. I'm like, hey, I think her name's Guillen, in the newsroom. And hey, sports guy over here, Ozzie Guillen, that's what you call her. Anyways, I think we got another one of those situations with Sharon and Sharon. So the infrastructure inside Michigan's athletic department is wide open right now. This guy, Ward Manuel, their athletic director, seems like, he is under investigation, as is the university, and this entire process, right? What happened? What will be the fallout from the investigation as to what happened, right? This is all going to really affect the new, or could really affect the new head football coach at Michigan. And a coach like, right, a Kalen DeBoer, like, and he kind of shut down the rumors earlier in the week. He was asked twice at a press conference whether or not he was going to take the Michigan job, or will you be coaching at Alabama next year? He jumped right in. The second time, somebody did a great job and asked a follow-up. He said, yes, I will be here. Okay. We've heard that before. So you think Alabama has to go down the list now. Next guy will be Kenny Dillingham. And I was texting a little bit with our friend Shahan Jayaraja this morning, trying to get some clarity on, what is the reality of Kenny Dillingham leaving? Because sometimes being as close to the Big 12 as I am, I don't see the forest through the trees, right? And it comes down once again, and we hear this, and this is why, we heard it a lot with the higher profile situation, like with Lane Kiffin, higher profile than here at Baylor, was that this is a guy who, leaving Ole Miss, the resources get even better from Ole Miss to LSU, right? And the resources at Ole Miss are pretty good. Arizona State does not have the resources that Michigan has. And unfortunately, it's possible they never will. And that has got to affect Kenny Dillingham. Now, here's the quote he said yesterday when, he was pushed about this. He said, this is Kenny Dillingham, I think my job is to do whatever I can for the people in the foxhole, the coaches in the foxhole with me. I've got to do whatever I can to fight for those people, for my family, for everything from that perspective. I love it here. I've said that since day one. That's not changing. That sounds to me like a guy who's going to leave to go to Michigan if he gets the job. That sounds to me like a guy who basically is saying, I have to do what's right for my assistant coaches who are basically my family. And then, of course, I have to do right by my nuclear family because I got to put us into a position to succeed where I'm looking up 5 years from now and I'm not 7-5 again for the third straight year at Arizona State when I could be at Michigan and have all the resources I need to win a national championship. Really hard to say no. When Michigan calls to talk to you about their head football coaching job, you say yes. And this is a job where I would not ever thumb my nose at Kenny Dillingham if he decided to do this. At 35 years of age, this is a dream job somebody can present to you. As much as the guy is an Arizona State guy, right? Rent to Arizona State, coached there for a little bit as an assistant, came back last year. They go to the Big 12 title. They win it. They had Texas so on the ropes. They were a targeting penalty that should have been called away from advancing in the college football playoff. They were right there, and it didn't happen. And even if it had happened, Arizona State would still be Arizona State resources-wise, and Michigan would still be a super attractive job. So all that being said, right, if Michigan goes down the rung, I think the next guy, one of the guys you're going to have a conversation with, people don't want to hear it, is Marcus Freeman. But a guy like Marcus Freeman, somebody of that ilk, right, they are going to want to transition into a stable athletic department. They're not going to want to – Michigan will never be a fly-by-night operation, but if you show up to an athletic department where you don't know who the AD is – by the way, they don't have I skipped this huge part. Michigan doesn't have a president right now. So there's a lot in flux at that university. So I believe what we're going to see is – and again, this is the Baylor blueprint, right? Who would have ever thought that would become a blueprint? Because – a week or two ago, we saw it as, management malpractice by Dr. Linda Livingstone and Baylor by keeping Dave Aranda. We got Sean at 10:30, right? Sean Alexander at 10:30. Okay, this guy just gave me the time sign. So here's what I see happening at Michigan, and it's similar to many years ago. Okay, when I was a kid, my brother Michael, by the way, loved Gary Moeller. He just did, right? Who took over for Schembechler. Well, Moeller got into some trouble, and he had to step aside. And when he stepped aside, Michigan kept it in-house because it was such a wild situation. And guess who they hired? Lloyd Carr. Well, Lloyd Carr did an amazing job, won a national championship. And also, at the moment in time when he was hired, he kept that program stable, right? As stable as it could be. Biff Poggi right now is in that athletic department, on that staff still. He is a very bright guy. He is a guy who will put the university first. This is a guy. This guy's wealthy, right? He's like a Wall Street guy, made a ton of money. He's not looking to necessarily race to another job or to make an immediate impression. Like, he's the kind of guy that can really hold the line for a while, right? And it has been said, and I don't know what this means in today's day and age in college football, but it has been expressed by players through sources that, hey, we will stay and play for Biff, right? And there's a lot of talent on that roster. But if the players are behind him and there's an absolute, like, it's just a cluster, you know what, in the front offices and in the administrative level, or not the administration, at the executive level over at Michigan, well, then maybe this is the move. And maybe, just maybe, Linda Livingstone and Baylor, they don't look so dumb anymore. Pretty interesting, huh, how that works out. I'm not saying they did the right thing or the most exciting thing, but they probably did the most prudent thing. And Michigan might do the same. The Pete Souza Show is presented by Slovakics. We are coming back with one of the best guys ever to tote the rock, Sean Alexander. We're talking Alabama, Oklahoma, the Sean Alexander Award, and more coming up after this on the Pete Souza Show.